I got this the first time, on the first try. Oh no! So I have sample content that I burned from a 2013 MacBook Pro running Mojave. We're gonna see if we can use any of it with the programs on this PowerBook. This is gonna be a nightmare. Hey guys, how are you all doing? Really? That's just great. You know, I'm doing pretty great today too because, well, there's just a PowerBook in the layer here. So I have to thank my buddy Ian for donating this computer to my awesome layer here. So thank you very much, Ian. And just a quick housekeeping thing before we dive into the PowerBook. I do have a new layer. The guards were really nice. They gave me something new to experiment in, so I'm very excited about that. And I have some really cool tech video logs and projects coming soon, so stick around for those. Anyway, back to the awesome PowerBook. It's from the PowerBook G3 series. No USB or FireWire yet, but that stuff did come later. One thing I did notice is that it says VST SuperDisk on the side, and when I looked up this model, it was configurable with a floppy disk drive or a CD-ROM or DVD drive. VST SuperDisk, that might be an aftermarket kind of thing, but we'll see if we can get that working. The button also clicks really nice. That feels like a nice button. Cosmetically, Ian, you must have done a great job keeping this thing clean because it looks really freaking good. But there's more. I'm going to bust out a CD caddy and a SCSI cable for my old friend, the Apple CD300. This thing doesn't have a CD-ROM drive in it, and I don't have it networked right now. So to transfer some files to it, I'm gonna use a CD. I figured if we have some software on here we can tinker with, I might as well load some of my own content on it and see what we can do. So we'll transfer it with this awesome CD drive. So the battery, as you could imagine on a 1998 machine, is not doing too well. But we do have the awesome 45 watt Apple power adapter, or as we like to call it, the yo-yo charger. So let's plug that in. Well, that's interesting. Like, it just kind of spins up the fans and spins up the hard drive and then it goes back down. I didn't even turn it on yet. I'm not sure why it does that. On top, we have the brightness controls, the volume, a mute button, and the power button, along with 2 speakers. And this was an interesting thing. So, I still kind of chuckle at this. Hang on. Sorry. The Apple logo, it looks like it's right side up when you're looking at the machine this way, but when you flip the lid up, the logo is upside down. Now, that's not the thing I'm chuckling at because it was like that for many years. The thing I'm chuckling at is when Steve Jobs announced that the logo is actually fixed, the audience went crazy. That was a good moment.
As you can see, we turn the logo around, so when it opens, the logo's right side up.
On this side, we do have a modem port, which has a little door on it, and then the battery is right here, and then we have the PC card slot here. On the back, we do have audio out, audio in, and the power, and then dun-dun, we have all of the other connections. And later, USB and FireWire were on these models, but right now, none of that. We do have Apple Desktop Bus, Serial, Ethernet, HDI 30 SCSI, S-Video, and VGA. And there's also an infrared receiver. I'm not sure what else it really does. Transmitter, receiver, whatever. It's an infrared thing right there. Texture-wise, it does have plastic, but it also has kind of a rubbery feel right here, which makes me think this was maybe one of the testing grounds, if you will, for rubber finishes and coatings because you saw a lot of that in the iBook when that came out later. Ready to boot her up? Let's go. Love that sound. There goes the super disk. There's actually a disk in there. So that was left in there when this was given to me. We'll see if we can get that working later. Seems like it's taking a little while to boot up. Hopefully it's okay. There we go, Happy Mac. What OS is on here? Place your bets now. Oh, 9.2, too late. Again, I've never used one of these before, but I know you can typically exchange components in these bays here, but I guess this is one of the release switches for this bay. But I'm not actually sure how to use it right now. Oh, well that was easy for the battery. Holy cow. Battery tech. So this is not the original battery. Go ahead and slide back in there. There we go. That's pretty easy. A little bit of modularity right there. That's cool. Now just how do we remove this guy? Oh, there we go. VST Technologies, VST Super Disk Drive. So, yep, aftermarket thing. Do not apply pressure to this cover. Noted, Fred G. Lee, and please read the manual. All right, well, we can get other components and put them in there if we want. Like a Mac Pro expansion module, can we? Are those compatible? What about an Afterburner card? Could we throw an Afterburner card in here? Ooh. ProRes on a G3, hell yeah. Yeah, that's probably not possible. But if anyone knows how to do that, feel free to contact me. Yep, the disk is spinning in there, but nothing is showing up on the desktop, so I'm not sure if it's malfunctioning or if there's a driver issue. Yeah, VST USB floppy drive. This is interesting. It's talking about a USB floppy drive. This is not USB, though. There's not even USB on this computer, so I'm not sure why this manual is on here. But it does talk about installing a driver. I don't know, maybe there's just no driver. It does eject, though. Interesting. Frankly, not sure where to go with that from there, but we'll just keep you in there and you can stay cozy. All right, quick glance at the launcher, then we'll go to the system profiler. Looks like we have Adobe Photoshop 5, Apple Works, Inspiration, Internet Explorer, PowerPoint, Word, Photo Studio. We'll dig into more of that later. Let's just check this out first. 168 megabytes of memory, macOS 9.2, and system profiler. Okay, 233 megahertz PowerPC G3 from the PowerBook G3 series, and the machine ID is 312, which I guess that means it came out in May 1998, but the weird thing is, those models only lasted for about 4 months, and then there was the September release. Typically Apple goes about 9 months, or if you're talking about a Mac Pro, 5 years, but they only went 4 months with this, and then they released a September update, but the machine ID was still 312. The screen is 14.1 inches and it's 1024 by 768. It actually looks pretty freaking good. It gets a little heavy on your lap after a while because you're not used to heavier, thicker computers nowadays, but like, at least the screen is big. It looks pretty nice. So while I was burning the CD with the sample content on it, I decided to put the PowerBook into sleep mode. And I just want to demonstrate something we take for granted today, how fast our devices can lock, unlock, go to sleep, and wake up. So let's wake it up now. This is actually taking longer than I thought it would. Whew, we have a lot to be grateful for now, don't we? Anyway, while that's loading, it would hardly be a Crazy Ken episode without tinkering and experimenting. That's what we like to do here. So I have sample content that I burned from a 2013 MacBook Pro running Mojave, and we're gonna see if we can actually use any of it. I tried to incorporate some backward compatibility. We're gonna see if we can use any of it with the programs on this PowerBook. So now we're gonna hook up the honkin' Apple CD300 SCSI external CD-ROM drive. And since it is SCSI, I'm not sure about hot plugging it. I'm sure if I hot plugged it, people would yell at me, so I'm gonna shut down the computer and then get it all hooked up. All right, let's turn on the drive and then boot up the computer. We have a caddy here. Let's throw it in. And here's a fun part. It says CD caddy on the front flap there, right? But when you insert the caddy, it now says caddy loaded. Nice little touch. And just like that, the CD loaded just fine. So, oops, I just did Control A. All right, well, somebody's been using Windows lately. Command A. All right, we're gonna copy it to the folder on the desktop, and then we'll test some things out. And while that's going, let's open up Microsoft Word. Oh, hello. We have an agent popping up. Okay, so here's my sample items. Let's see what we can do with Photoshop. So let's go to Open. Here's a picture I shot when I was filming the Apple prototype episode of Vintage Apple Vault. That looks great. Let's open that up in Photoshop, see what we can do. Okay, so it loaded. That's good. Let's see how fast it redraws. Pretty speedy. Let's just do a quick Gaussian blur test. Let's say 30 pixels, 31 pixels. Oh wow, it renders that pretty freaking quick. I guess I'm too used to using Photoshop on 68K systems where it takes a million years to render stuff. Very nice. Let's put some text in there. Oh, now it has to process it, but at least it previewed really quickly. Yeah, because now it has to go through every single pixel. Yeah, that's where the math is going to slow you down now. But hey, we're talking about a 1998 system with a G3, so not too bad, right? Anyway, it's repainting, looking good. Almost. There it goes. Oh, type tool. Yeah, I haven't used Photoshop 5 much, but yeah, nowadays we're so lucky we can just type right on the canvas, but we actually have a separate window for that. Close enough. There we go. Macintosh. That actually drags around without slowing down too much. Pretty speedy. Okay. Not too bad. That test is okay. So let's come back to Photoshop a little bit later. Let's just quit this for now and try out some Office productivity applications. So we have Apple Works, which is like Microsoft Office all combined into one app, but we also have the individual Microsoft Office applications as well. So we can do whatever the frick we want. Let's go to Open, and let's go to a desktop file, which is absolutely 100% top secret. It's a Word doc. So if we open up this, let's see. This was made on my 2013 MacBook Pro, but saved with some backward compatibility features for Word 97 through 2001 or whatever. And let's see if it actually works. Okay, we have a sound. I'm not sure why, but it sounded like a happy sound. So yeah, it looks like a lot of it is preserved. A screenplay, the formatting and everything looks like it's all still here. Let's just see if it wraps. Yeah, I was gonna say it doesn't look like it's gonna wrap because the ruler tabs are way over here, so it looks like that didn't get preserved, but that's okay. Hang on a second, did you hear that? There's like sound effects for undoing and everything, so I guess, yeah, Microsoft Office had a lot of sounds. Cool. Well, good job, Microsoft. Your compatibility worked fine, and I guess I gotta compliment Apple too, because it was converted using Apple's Pages program, and looks like it worked. Let's switch back to the Photofop and see if we can actually just do a little compositing. I have a couple layers I need to put together, so... Again, everything had an eyeball on it, like, at one time. Everything was eyeballs. Okay, so this is a Photoshop file I actually just directly transferred. I want to see what kind of compatibility is here before we work with the PNG files. So, for fun, let's see what it can do. Years different. This was with, like, the second most recent version of Photoshop. We're now opening it up in Photoshop 5, and holy cow, dude, even the guides, like, yeah, it looks like it's, wow, that's impressive. Yeah, this was one of our thumbnails. It looks like some of the layer styles were not preserved, particularly with this arrow graphic. And yeah, like this was, the Apple logo was white. It's gray here because the layer style wasn't preserved. But yeah, the rest of this came through just fine, and impressive compatibility, Adobe. I figured that would be the case with Adobe. They're usually very good with that. So now, let's try something with like 25 layers in it. Not a super complex project. Nice job, Adobe. That'll do, Adobe. That'll do. Okay, actually, yeah, something is broken here. This is a good thing to note, but that's because I used the frame feature. That's a rather new feature in Photoshop where you can just like an InDesign, set up guides, like little squares, and you can just drop stuff in there. Those did not transfer because that feature didn't exist in Photoshop 5, so things are overlapping. It's a very interesting thing to note. Let's zoom in here. Yeah, now it's taking a little time to redraw, but it's doing a good job for, you know, the circumstances. So now let's actually put some stuff together. So I need to open up a background file and composite a PNG with alpha channel on top of it. There we go, so there's the background. It is a big ass image, and it's a PNG. So it took a little while to load, but now we need to place something in here with transparency. Oh, that's very nice. Okay, I clearly did that wrong. I want to see if I can just drag it in here. Yeah, I don't think I can. Okay, so we're gonna try this a different way. Okay, so if we open this, hopefully it preserves the transparency? Let's find out. Just kind of tinkering right now. Okay, so now we know the answer to that. All the transparency was not preserved. We can still try to copy and paste what we can, just for fun. This is gonna be a nightmare. Oh yeah. Haha. Not too bad. There we go. Should that be the thumbnail for this episode? Maybe not. All right, so let's Command T this boy. Good heavens. I know I'm like killing you right now. Well, let's see if we can fix any of that. Okay, so the client was an asshole idiot and sent us a PNG file from the future. So how do we fix this? Well, maybe we use the wand. And yeah, anti-aliasing tolerance, 32. Let's select the white. and then delete it. I probably should have ran a select similar command while I was at it. Select similar, so it can hopefully grab the inside there. It is now taking longer than if I would have done it manually, but hey, that's okay. There we go, it got it. And delete. Now the black is gonna be tricky because my monitor head of my mascot is also very dark colored. So, oh shit. I forgot my face has white in it. I'm an idiot. So this is where we do Command Z. So as you can see, we're getting closer to what we want. Now the black is gonna be a tricky mess. Do I dare try it? Oh yeah, that's beautiful. So let's turn down the tolerance to like 8. Yeah, that's gonna look like crap, but let's just do it anyway. Actually, that looks way better than I thought it was gonna look. Maybe the marching ants were just a little deceiving. Shit, that actually doesn't look too bad. Well, thank you, Photoshop, for always being there for us, even with compatibility going into the future, I guess you could say. We threw some newer files at you, but for the most part, you knew how they worked. Ooh, that hard drive is going to town. Right. That's because we copied that Krazy Ken mascot layer to the clipboard, and it was just too big, so it exploded. And now I'm going to show you one of my favorite features of these designs, and this is something that actually lasted for quite a long time on PowerBooks and rolled into the iBooks as well. In addition to the modularity, we actually have kind of an easy open feature beneath the keyboard here. So if we pull the little tabs here and take the hardware out of the expansion bays, there's little tabs hidden underneath here. And if we pull these 2 tabs back, we can now, it's a little unbalanced now, we can now lift the keyboard off the computer. It kind of rocks when it's open, but there you go. Now you have access to the inside. Assembled in Mexico. You don't see that very often on a computer. So here we have the heat shield. Let's see if we can take that off without having to take off these ribbon cables here. Should be pretty easy. And there we go. And there we have the PC card, the RAM, and the hard drive. Thankfully, nothing needs fixing, so we can get the heat shield right back on here. And we'll put the keyboard back in place. I got this the first time, on the first try. Oh no! Well, that was an easy fix. For those longtime viewers, you may know that the whole Krazy Ken persona was actually invented because of a broken key on a keyboard. That's how this whole mess started. Anyway, takes a little finagling. Open up the tab, let it kind of slide back in. There we go. Battery back in. And VST. Super disk. There you go. Modularity and easy open. Pretty awesome features. Makes you miss them. Would you look at that? My wallpaper looks pretty good on that screen. This was a fun computer to tinker with, but I would like to do more with it in the future. And since we're talking about the future, I just want to mention this briefly. The guards have blessed me, for some reason, with this awesome new layer. And recently I've been taking some time to think about what other stuff I want to do in these tech video logs. So I want to take on some more creative and challenging things. And I just want to make some better stuff for you guys. So I cannot wait to share what I have coming up. I hope that you stick around because there's some cool stuff coming. Plus, don't forget, I'm hosting that Windows 7 installation commemoration house party on January 14th. We're gonna send Windows 7 out with a bang. Don't miss it. Thanks for sticking with me, and there's lots of cool stuff to come. Catch the Krazy and pass it on.